One of the more curious Android tablets on the market right now is the new Xiaomi MiPad 2, an unexpected premium look and feel for a budget category device. It is the software that makes this tablet unique. Hello folks, this is Jonathan Feist. Thank you for joining us for a closer look at the Xiaomi MiPad 2. Launched in the fall of 2015, the MiPad 2 is another in a long list of devices out of this Chinese company that packs solid specs for its price. We are not yet accustomed to seeing full metal design out of a sub $200 tablet. Hopefully Xiaomi can help raise the bar. We could get used to this approach in the budget to mid-range offerings. Of course, Xiaomi has not yet cracked the international market. Many of us, including US consumers, will need to pull some international strings to get our hands on this device. Let's not beat around the bush. The look and feel of this Android-powered device will be familiar to most iPad mini users. With similar overall measurements and an OS that rather accurately emulates iOS in many ways, the Xiaomi MiPad 2 is, as I say, a curious device that may just be a brilliant take on what users want out of tablets today. Looking at the device, you'll see a full metal backing, full glass front, and the basic set of buttons, ports, and sensors of the typical tablet on the market today. That is, there's a rear-facing camera up in the corner, front-facing camera up top in the center. Power and volume buttons live on the right-hand edge of the device up near the top, although you'll find the power button situated below the volume buttons. The bottom edge of the tablet houses a single USB Type-C port, while dual rear-facing speaker grills live at the bottom of the device. There are also a few mic holes and 3.5mm headphone jack on the top edge. Measuring in with a 7.9-inch IPS display, the Xiaomi MiPad 2 offers up 1536 by 2018 pixels of resolution. That's 326 ppi. If you were keeping track, that is the same size and pixel count as the iPad mini 4. The display on the Xiaomi MiPad 2 is pleasant to look at, providing nice color saturation, great viewing angles, and adequate brightness. When I say nice and adequate, I imply that this is not the best panel we've seen in our time. It would be unfair to say that you would be displeased with this device, but there's no question, placed side by side with most other current gen LCD or LED displays, you will see a difference. On a positive note, Xiaomi has included some controls to make your display look like you want it to. First, you can choose the color saturation levels between two different options. Then you can choose the general color temperature with three options of normal, warm, or cool. Last, there is a reading mode available, adding that familiar yellow tint to the display that makes it easier to look at in the dark. The full metal back includes the adequate holes to support your normal 3.5mm headphone jack and the new USB Type-C charging and data cable. The front glass goes edge to edge, and there are capacitive off-screen navigation buttons in the lower bezel area. Inside the MiPad 2 is an Intel processor, the Atom X5-Z8500, with 2GB of RAM, 16 or 64 GB of internal storage, and a 6,190 mAh battery. As far as sensors go, look for a 5MP front shooter complemented by an 8MP rear shooter. We originally were told we would find an LED flash, but that is not present on our 16GB Android version of the tablet. Bluetooth 4.1 and Wi-Fi AC are your main connectivity options. A selection of other typical sensors are on board, with one major exclusion. There is no GPS sensor on this tablet. Measuring in at 200mm by 133mm at 6.95mm thick, it is a nice weight at 322 grams. The power button being placed below the volume buttons takes some getting used to, but both are easily accessed and offer a decent tactile response. Finally, the rear-facing speakers are loud and difficult to muffle by hand, but you may not like the hollow and somewhat distant sound they produce. With the new 64-bit Intel Atom X5 Z8500 chipset and 2GB of RAM, we were pleasantly surprised to see Antutu benchmark score of over 70,000. However, as we all know, benchmark scores do not tell the whole story. And in this case particularly, overall performance of the device fails to live up to the score. I don't know if it is this Intel processor, the heavily skinned MIUI version of Android 5.1 Lollipop, or the Intel HD graphics for Atom, but everything I do on this tablet feels sluggish and slightly delayed after my touch. Navigating the OS is smooth enough and the animations are fast, but as I say, there's a bit of a delay in the process. Mostly, it is the off-screen capacitive navigation buttons that cause me grief. Often, I miss them entirely, or end up hitting them twice as I am awaiting a response. It's not all bad. Despite a little bit of delay when scrolling a large web page, as an example, the overall OS and app performance is adequate for your day-to-day needs. The average user will be happy with their experience. I'd still recommend you try before you buy on this one. Shifting to more of a positive note, battery life on this tablet should prove enough to get you through your day. We managed to consistently enjoy more than 5 hours of screen on time with heavier usage patterns. If you are looking to get even more out of it, MIUI includes a battery saver mode to extend the life of this non-removable 6190 mAh battery. With an optional Windows 10 powered version of this tablet available, we opted for the unit running Android. It's based on Android 5.1 Lollipop, called MIUI 7.1. Here's the thing, and this is likely one of the main reasons that Xiaomi MiPad 2 is not available for sale in the US. MIUI is designed to be comfortable and familiar for iPad users. This is a decidedly non-Android approach, but it creates one of the most unique flavors of Android you'll ever see. That is, it looks and feels like iOS. Those familiar with Android apps and features will be home on the Xiaomi MiPad 2, and at the same time, those familiar with the user interface of iOS will be pleased to not have to learn many new techniques. That being said, catering to both sides inevitably means compromises. These shortcomings are only compounded by the fact that Xiaomi is unable to preload Google apps and services. That's right, you will need to follow some Chinese guides and sideload some apps before you can use the Play Store to install your favorite apps and games. Loading Google apps and services on your MiPad 2 may not be the end of your struggles. You may find, as I have, that the Play Store crashes frequently, and if you cannot read Chinese, there will always be a few pre-installed apps. You may never even know what they are. It may take a while for the average Android user to get used to MIUI, if ever. Again, MIUI looks and acts like iOS. This is true even in the Settings app. But whether you use Xiaomi's skin or install a third-party launcher, there will still be some latency delays in the OS. This is most prevalent when using the navigation buttons, enough delay sometimes to wonder if you even hit the button in the first place. With the reminder that we are speaking of the Android version of the MiPad 2 here today, we are reminded of the old saying, you get what you pay for. Perhaps the premium materials and overall feel of the MiPad lulled us into a false sense that this tablet is a flagship contender. But poking around the OS, we were abruptly reminded that this truly is a budget category device. The 16GB model is officially 999 won, or about $155. 64GB model, which is available both in Android and Windows 10, is 1299 won, it's about $200. Just keep in mind that Xiaomi has limited global availability, as this tablet is not even available in the US. The 16GB version cost us about $200 by the time we got it shipped in. With this unique approach to Android and the underperforming feel of the OS, it is hard to make a decision on this tablet. On one hand, the budget-friendly price and excellent hardware appeal make us love it, but on the other, the performance will remind us that we are getting a device with enough power to surf the web, but not enough to play our favorite games. So we must ask, what do you want this tablet to do? Thank you for hanging out with me for a few minutes. Be sure to check out TabTimes.com for more tablet news and reviews. then head on over to see our great team in action at AndroidAuthority.com. Be sure to give us those thumbs up so that we know you like what we're up to, and hit that subscribe button and see what we have coming next. Take care all, see you next time.